Oh, what the fuck? Hi guys, this is Mattias, and in this video I'd like to share a few tips about crafting food and drugs in Fallout 4. Now, the two main things that I'm thinking about before I start crafting is what effect am I looking for from the consumable that I'm crafting, and what ingredients are the hardest to find. Oh, it wasn't harder than that. So now the reason why I'm not separating food and drugs into two different videos is because the way I go by when I'm crafting these things and my thoughts behind it are the same. Now keep in mind, some people consider using combat drugs in Fallout 4 a way of breaking the game. And what that means is that you're going to be so powerful that you have basically no resistance, and that way the game becomes too easy. But that is for each and every one of us to decide for ourselves. So now the differences between food and chems, the things that I want to point out is that chems normally have a stronger effect and a more specific effect. They're more specialized. Food, on the other hand, is mostly for healing, but some food has an additional effect as well, which in some cases is a combat effect that can be very useful depending on your playstyle and how you have built up your character. Here, for example, you see me take 2 mutant hound chops. What they do is that, aside from heal, they will also remove a little bit of radiation. They will actually remove a lot more radiation if you play on another difficulty level than survival. What you also see here is that I can see my opponents through walls, or I can see the purple glow through walls, and that is because of the effect of berry mentats. And when it comes to mentats, Psycho, Buffout and Jet, these are 4 drugs that I never use in its original form. And that's because you can use these original drugs as an ingredient to make a more powerful version. So now let's start with the combat drugs, and what I would recommend you to do is to walk up to a chemistry station like this, browse through all the available recipes and check out what they do. So here you see berry mentats. On the left side you see how they highlight living targets. That's the effect you saw just a moment ago. They also will increase your intelligence by 5, and under there you see its weight and its value. Now if you look on the right side of the recipe, you also see how the effects lasts for 8 minutes. That is with this current character, something that you can increase by putting points into the perk Chemist. It also tells you what ingredients are required to craft it. So now once you have browsed through the recipes, you've seen the effects they have, and you have decided what the drugs you want to use for your current character. What you want to focus on is the ingredients that you need to make the drugs that you want. Now in some cases the ingredients are so common that you don't have to worry about it, and you can just spam them, and even if you don't need that drug you can just sell it, and you will also gain a lot of XP by just crafting them. But in some cases the ingredients are quite rare. Here I'm making Psycho, which requires 4 ingredients, and as much as I have plenty of 3 of these ingredients, I don't have much hub flour. And for each Psycho it requires 2 hub flour, so I can't make that many more. So when it comes to Psycho, I consider hub flour the key ingredient. Now you can see here, once I'm out of 1 or more ingredients, that I get the option tag for search. Now this is a very useful tool, but I don't use it for hub flour. I know what they look like, and Psycho is not one of my main drugs that I use. Also keep in mind that some drugs requires you to put some points into Chemist. However, most recipes you have access to without it. So now again, with berry mentats, the key ingredient for this recipe is tarberry, in my opinion, and that is of course because that is the one that is the hardest to find and most rare. Now sometimes your settlers will have tarberry on them, and if you just trade with them, you can get one here and there. And there are also a few traders that will sell them. Now the only place where I know of that you can pick them are here at the Slog. This is a settlement occupied by ghouls. I thought that you could actually take over the settlement, but I doubt it. Maybe if you kill them. I haven't tried it. I was able to pick up a mission here, and the place is located quite far northeast of Diamond City. It might actually take you quite a bit of playtime before you get to this place. So yeah, I'll just show you a little bit more here on the map in the Pip-Boy, where you'll find it.
Good to meet ya.
Would have been nicer if this was still a swimming pool.
Now another very popular drug is Buffout. Now me personally, I consider using it in its original form a bit of a waste, but that's just me. But that's because you can turn Buffout into Buffjet or Bufftats. Now Buffjet is, of course, as the name suggests, the result that you will have if you combine Buffout with Jet. Now as you can see on the effects, this is a very useful combat drug for someone playing this game with a melee build. Maybe not as useful for someone playing the game the way I do. Bufftats, on the other hand, is something I've used quite a bit. And that's of course because the increased endurance and the extra maximum health will allow you to tank more damage in combat. The heightened perception will of course increase your awareness, and I think it also helps you in VATS somehow. I'm not entirely sure because I don't use VATS. And of course, since the effect lasts for quite a while, the increased strength will also allow you to carry a little bit more loot back home. So now for the ones of you who wants to make some more caps, the drug you want to craft is grape mentets. But the increased charisma can also be useful for persuasion in dialogues. Now keep in mind that grape mentets requires hub flower just as well as psycho does, and this really highlights the importance of hub flower as a key ingredient that I was mentioning earlier. And being that 2 or more drugs can sometimes require the same ingredient, this means that that particular ingredient can be even more important, and even more so if it is relatively rare. So now the way I use grape mentets is almost exclusively when I go to Diamond City in order to buy and sell stuff. Now the effect lasts long enough so that you can easily take advantage of it, even if you want to barter with each and every vendor. Now just like in the previous Fallout games, I used chems also as a way of getting a lot of caps by selling them. In Fallout 4 I do it even more so than in the previous Fallout games, because in Fallout 4 I take advantage of a scrapper, meaning that I dismantle almost all valuable armor and weapons, except for the legendary ones that you can't scrap. And even with the weapons and the armor that I do sell, they weigh quite a bit, and it just makes it easier to sell chems, because there's no way I'm going to use up all of it anyway. So now if you know that you're going to end up in a dialogue with an NPC, it might be worth it to pop a grape mentet before. With your increased charisma, you have stronger persuasion, and you can ask for more money before accepting a mission.
All right. How about 125 caps?
Come on. Make it worth my while, Solomon.
You are one righteous talker. 150 caps.
I'll walk out right now if you don't make me a real offer.
200. That's all I can pay. I swear.
Mutated fern. Sounds good.
Cool.
Now when it comes to bartering in general, this was something I did quite a lot in the early game, because I didn't want to end up in a situation where I couldn't buy a, let's say, a unique weapon or continue a quest the way I wanted it, because I didn't have enough money. However, the way I play the game and my experience of Fallout 4, the amount of caps you have are not all that important. But that's just me. Now remember kids, even at the highest level of being a chemist, drugs are bad. You keep taking any kind of drug, you risk being addicted, and if you do get addicted, you need to get rid of that addiction as soon as possible. Luckily, in the nuclear apocalypse in the future, curing addiction is not all that hard. One of your solutions is another drug called Addictol. Just pop one of those and you're cured. Now, if you don't have Addictol, then hopefully you've run into a couple of red scorpions and been able to collect and store a few of their eggs. Because you combine one of these eggs with a purified water, you'll be able to make a red scorpion egg omelette, and that will cure addictions as well. So yeah, my suggestion, both when it comes to drugs and food, is that you go to a chemistry station or a cooking stove or cooking station, and as you browse through all the craftable consumables, and you decide which ones you want to focus on, either then tag for search for the ingredients that you need, or just try to remember them. I guess the best solution is actually a bit of both. Now obviously you want to try to remember what ingredients are most rare and make sure that you don't miss picking them up whenever you see one. Don't forget that some ingredients, even though they might be much more common, might be required for more than one recipe, and you might need a lot more of them than you might think. It's also very easy to get carried away when you see the amount of XP you can get by just crafting stuff with ingredients that you have a lot of. Now, one of the ingredients that I was a little bit surprised over that was so useful is dirty water. You'd think that dirty water wouldn't be much more use than to try to clean it up and make it into purified water, but that's not the case. You need dirty water for a lot of things, and as a matter of fact, I actually find it harder to find enough dirty water than purified water. So now furthermore, when it comes to getting the ingredients that you need in order to craft what you want, is having 2 points into Scrapper and also 2 points into Local Leader. Now, to be fair, most of the stuff that you get from scrapping weapons and armor is not going to be used for consumables, But once you start to realizing what you can do at your settlements and with your weapons and armor, it's easy to get hooked. I started modding both my weapons and my armor right away, and that has been a main part of my playstyle actually. You can also grow a lot of the ingredients that you will need for your crafting in your settlements. And connecting the settlements with the supply lines will also help you out. So now, as much as you can craft a lot more consumables than the ones that I've talked about, I only want to focus on one last recipe before I end this video, and that is the recipe for squirrel stew. Now, most of these ingredients are easy to get a lot of, but squirrel bits is not one of them. Unfortunately, it's very easy to waste your squirrel bits on something not nearly as useful. So my very last tip before I end this video is save your squirrel bits for the squirrel stew, at least in the early game, and get a little bit of extra XP. So with that, I would like to say thank you all for watching.